Welcome back, everyone. So, time for some real talk. You guys follow me along on my life, where I'm working, how much I'm making, and this is to update you on that. So, you guys know that I've been looking for a job for over a year, and then I found one, and that was about 2 months ago. Not even 2 months ago. That job, I was a little worried about at the beginning because it didn't provide insurance, and I was going to have to find a way to pay for that. It also paid less than the job I had before, where I was already struggling financially. My solution was to try to find additional employment, either in the evenings or on the weekends. But soon after working this job, or starting this job, I found out it's one of those jobs that expects you to come in early, stay late, come in on your days off, work at home. We'll get in more of that later. But what it did is it took away that opportunity to have that second job that I needed, absolutely needed, in order to make this job work. So what I started doing instead is, and I think I mentioned this plan to you guys earlier, is I took the proof of income I got from this job and I went and I got a car. Now, I'm gonna make a video later on about that. I'm not 100% through the process, and I want to get that finished up so I can make a video. But I got a car based on the income from there, and with that being the case, I started driving again for Uber and Lyft, which I'll make a video about that too. So, and this is kind of that goes along the same line. I've got all these video ideas and things that's happened over the last 2 or 3 months that I need to make videos about and update you guys on. And it's because I have been working so much at this job that I've not had time to keep up with the channel and keep up with all these things I want to do because, well, and we'll get into this, but like I said, I feel obligated to work all the time for this job. That's not what I signed up for. So let's go back to a little bit before I got this job. I had been looking for over a year for something, and when I left my past job, I started driving for Uber and Lyft for a week when I could rent a car from somebody, and I got this taste of freedom, I guess you would say. It wasn't quite being the entrepreneur I wanted to be, but in truth, it was being an entrepreneur. Owning my own business, even if that was just being a 1099 contractor. I don't really think of it that way, but that is what Uber and Lyft is. So, I think after I got that taste of freedom, of having the flexibility to be able to go home and help my mom at a moment's notice if I need to, being able to, if I wanted to schedule an interview for a different type of job, being able to make it to the interview whenever, not having to wait a week and hurt my chances of getting it by making them wait, that was something that I really, really, I connected with. So I still was in this state of mind of trying to think of getting like this day job, right? And I got one, and I became a marketing and leasing assistant for a realtor. And if you guys have watched my videos, my budget videos for the past 2 months, I'm not going to name the place, but the name of it's in there if you look at my pie chart. So easy enough to find. Here's what happened. Have you ever gotten a job and the first day you walked in there, you're like, oh God, what did I get myself into? That was pretty much what this was like. I don't want to say every day was miserable. It wasn't. I'm completely fine with just going in. Even if I don't particularly like a place, I can just go in, get my work done, boom, I'm good. All right. So, one of the first things I was told after I got in there was, oh, you're going to be working on Saturday. Now, in the interview, I agreed to work one Saturday a month or every other Saturday. At that time, they hadn't decided how that was going to be. what I was not told until after I was hired and started was that I was going to be working every Saturday. Now, I have two problems with this. Number one, that's not what I was told, and I feel like it was kind of a bait and switch. But number two, they were going to give me, they wanted me to come in for a half day every Friday and then work 4 hours on Saturday. Well, at this time, I didn't have a car. I was commuting on the bus. It takes 2 to 2.5 hours to get there on a bus, one way. So that's 4 to 5 hours out of my day on a sixth day of the week, giving me only one day off. That one day off was Sunday when nothing's open, so I couldn't get anything accomplished. This is one of those jobs where don't you ever dare look at your phone or take a personal phone call or anything. We'll get more into that. So now it's my first day and I feel obligated. I mean, what can I do? I suppose I could have walked out, but I'm not, I have, I don't know, some level of morals. I don't want to do that. But I already was like, okay, this job doesn't have insurance. Now I'm finding out I can't work a second job. I'm going to be working 6 days a week. I'm trapped. How am I even going to find anything else if I find anything else to interview for? I can't take time off. Well, then there was the issue with one of the things they promised me. This job doesn't have benefits per se. The only real benefit it has is that it has a match for a 401k. So I thought, great. At least I'll go back to saving for retirement. Well, I was hired in November of 2017, and in January of 2018, the representative from the company they used for the 401k came in and notified me that I would not be eligible until I had made $5,000. Well, since I started at the end of January, or at the end of November, I really only had 1 month of pay. So I didn't have the $5,000, which means I would have had to wait until January of 2019, being there a year and 2 months before I could even sign up for the plan, and then it takes a while to start contributing after that. So I'm like, I hadn't even planned on staying that long. So that's not workable. I mean, it just took like one of the only benefits out from under me. Then let's get into the job itself. Now, I'm not going to describe my actual job duties. It was marketing. It was leasing. There was a tiny bit of office work. It was mostly managing social media, doing a lot of marketing and advertising, taking sales calls, processing applications, following up with prospects. It wasn't anything exciting, all right? But here's the issue. When I first came in there, really for the whole time I worked there, they kept talking about this girl named Katie, all right? Now, Katie is the old receptionist. But before I was there, they only had a receptionist who also did all of my job, and they wanted somebody dedicated to marketing. Now, when Katie left, they found a bunch of stuff that she had not been doing, emails that she just deleted, didn't respond to. She was hiding files and stuff in her desk. And over time, I was like, well, first of all, I was like, what is this place? They just openly badmouth their old coworkers. And then I watched them openly badmouth each other as soon as they walked out the door, and I'm sure they did the same thing to me. So it's already kind of a toxic environment. And then, but yeah, I hear all these stories about Katie and how she like didn't do anything and she was worthless and all this stuff. But I'm getting more and more and more overwhelmed, right? I'm given more and more and more and more things to do, but yet the owner and the office manager, and to a lesser extent some of the other people, are like, oh, well, you need to do this. Well, you haven't done that yet? And it was crazy. We would have these morning meetings where they would give me a task list of, hey, focus on this today. I want you to spend the first 4 hours just catching up on answering all your emails. The second 4 hours, I want you to process applications. But then halfway through the day, a different manager would come up to me and be like, well, this report needs to be done by 3 p.m. today. and it's something that takes a couple hours work. And it was, there was some conflict between people telling me what to do, but it was really what it came down to. The amount of work that was required was not able to be done in a 40-hour time period. And I sort of dug us out of a hole in that our list of available properties was shrinking, because apparently it had gotten very long while Katie was there. And it was shrinking, and I was very happy about that. And then I kind of had my dreams dashed about that. That, like, oh, well, don't get too excited because there's, like, all these other ones coming up. And I was like, well, damn. I mean, I just thought I was making progress, but sure, okay. Just demoralize me. So anyway, the owner was a little difficult to get along with. He worked there in the office, and I think most of the time he was fine, but there were some times where it showed through that he did not care about his employees. And I started to hear, like, bits and pieces of things about how, well, first of all, we were under mass surveillance. There were cameras out in the offices showing each of our desks, and he would watch us from his desk or from his phone at home. He would read our emails and then, like, either respond for us, or he would forward our own emails to us and ask us about our response. The phone calls were recorded, and he probably did the same thing with those. I just was never confronted about anything with those. So that's weird and kind of off-putting. But then, on top of that, there was, right after New Year, he took a little vacation, like 2 or 3 days. He went to Cancun, and when he came back, he was, I don't know what his problem was. Most people go on a vacation and they just, like, chill out. When they come back, they're relaxed. This guy was so pissed off when he came back. Like, I don't know what the problem was. He was just seething. And our office manager, who has worked for him for years, she even said, she's like, this is the way he's going to be when he goes on vacation. He could just stay on vacation. Like, we don't know what his issue was, but when he came back, he was so angry and bitter and mean to us. And I don't know what to say. I mean, it was just like, I was like, I can't believe he's talking to us like this. And that was the day that it was said. He said, I don't want to hear any more personal conversations. Guys, it was like preschool. We were no longer allowed to speak to each other in the office. And it's not like we weren't getting work done. It's not like we had conversations more than 2 or 3 times in a day in our open office environment. We didn't even have cubicles, just an open room. Now we're no longer allowed to speak to each other. Are you kidding me? Who do you think you are? So, all right. Now, here's the other issue. I keep being told that every time I catch up on something, oh, well, okay, that's not really as good as you think it is, because here are all these other things that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing yet. And sure, over time, I started to do things more efficiently and started to do them faster, but there was no way. I mean, look, I've had 18 years of work history. I've never had a problem with, I've had problems getting along with people. I've had problems with not liking the job. I've never had a problem with not getting the work done in the allotted amount of time. Okay? But that's what's happening here, and it makes me think, okay, well, the person before me couldn't do it in the allotted amount of time, and I can't do it in the allotted amount of time. So, the common denominator here is the workload. So, here's what happened, okay? I was getting frustrated because I felt that I was pressured to work off the clock. I signed my offer letter saying that I made $15 an hour, 40 hours a week, right? But we had to come in early. We had to be there at 8:30 and work till 5, all right? But you had to be there early because the owner was going to ask you questions in the morning meeting, and you had to be in your seat at 8:30, meaning that you had to go to your desk and prepare, and you had to gather your stuff and go in the meeting. Okay, so a few minutes every morning that we're not going to be paid for, and there is no time clock, by the way. So then we get in there, and every single person stays after 5, and I did that for the first month. After I started driving for Uber and Lyft, I started just leaving everything, and I left at 5 because between 5 and 7 are the power hours for Lyft, and I needed to get those in order to get the bonuses. So I did eventually cut off at the end of the day the number of hours that I was working extra, but sometimes it was half an hour, sometimes it was 2 hours. And then instead of staying late, I started coming in early the next morning and doing something. But it was never appreciated, no matter how much extra time I put in. And then when the paychecks started rolling in, every week I was paid for 40 hours exactly. Well, now, I signed up for an hourly job. I am completely against salary in any situation. I would not have accepted a salaried position. And that's exactly what it's been turned into, without my knowledge or permission, and I'm not okay with that. So the situation that I found myself in, and I'm going to get back to the thing we just talked about, the situation I found myself in is that I was in a 90-day probationary period. And I think a lot of employers have started doing that. So I started tracking the actual times that I was coming in and leaving. That way, when I went into my 90 days, I could say, look, I'm not being paid properly. This is how much I've worked and not been paid for. And that was basically it came to the point where I was just going to say, here's my situation. Here's this documentation of this. It's more than you have because you don't even have a time clock. Either pay me for what you should have paid me in the past, and then in the future pay me for what I actually work, or, I don't want this position. That's one thing employers tell you with these 90-day probationary things. It's like, oh, this is not just for us, it's for you to evaluate us as well and make sure this is where you want to work. I don't think anybody ever looks at it that way. I don't think anybody ever comes in at 90 days and says, oh, no, actually, I don't like it here, I quit. I think it's more of like a crucible for the employee, but that's not the way I was planning to make this go. So the other issue is not just not being paid for the time I work. So I get paid a straight 40 hours, right? Okay, so I work Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. That's 8.5 hours a day. And then I work 4 hours on Saturday, 10 to 2, okay? So think about that. That's 42.5 hours Monday through Friday plus the 4 on Saturday. So I'm working 46.5 hours 6 days a week rather than the 40 hours 5 days a week that I agreed to. I'm not being paid for the extra hours. That week I work 46.5 hours, I'm being paid for 40. Now, true, the next week, what we worked out, instead of doing a half day every Friday, I'd work a full day. I'd work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then work half a day Saturday. The following week, I would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, have Friday off, and then work the regular day Saturday. But still, that's 2.5 hours a week that I'm not being paid for. Those 2.5 hours are my lunches. We were not allowed to take a lunch, period. Now, he had a rule that you couldn't eat at your desk. Okay? Well, that wasn't enforced, except for me. It was said because I was the front desk, the first person that anyone would come to when they walked in the door. It looked bad, but I was the only one that was not allowed to eat at my desk. Everybody else did. everyone had, I did it anyway because it, I mean, that's ridiculous. So, um, I was either going to get in trouble for eating at my desk, or I was going to get in trouble for going back to the conference room and eating there when I was supposed to be working. So, in trouble either way. Um, so then I I was not able to take lunches. You were not allowed to leave for lunch. You were not allowed to. I mean, you could order something in, but that caused another problem too. Is like, I don't want to be spending money. Like, I want to bring something, uh, and that caused another issue. And then it's like, well, okay, like, either I'm going to work through my breaks and you're going to pay me for them, or I'm going to actually start taking breaks. I'm going to start leaving every day, okay? Or I'm going to start bringing something and I'm going to take time off and I'm going to go sit in the conference room and eat, and I'm not going to be, degraded or questioned for taking that half hour. Well, then there was the issue, of course, like we talked before, about staying late. The reason that I had to stay late was the workload. It was never, hey, you have to stay late, or hey, you have to take this work home with you. But it was continuously piling on this work. And I'm going to get to this, but I questioned the owner about it, and he's like, oh, well, some of the employees, they choose to sit at their desk and work through their lunch breaks every day. Or they choose to stay late to complete their projects. I'm like, the thing is, though, either you pay me for the hours that I work, or I'm going to work for the number of hours you pay me. Even though you're not coming to me and saying, hey, you have to work off the clock, you assigning all this stuff and not being reasonable with the amount of time that it's going to take, and insisting that I can get this done in the hours that you assigned when I obviously can't, and I'm telling you that, and the person before me couldn't either, then that you are forcing me to work off the clock, for which you are not paying me. So that was the whole issue that I ran into there. So this is when shit hit the fan. All right. So Monday, last week, exactly a week ago, I was 5 minutes late to work. It was because I didn't know it snowed. I went out, saw that it snowed, and I'm like, so I scrape my window. People in Columbus can't drive when it snows, so it took me a little bit longer to get there. That was it, 5 minutes. Okay, so I was in my seat at 8:35. I was glared. I mean, literally, like, he was like looking down at me, like glared at me when I walked in the door. And I glared back at him, and he said, "You're late." I said, "I know." And he stood down, but I mean, I would have full on fought him at that point, because I was so angry on the way there, because I realized I was going to get in trouble for being 5 minutes late. I would have been in trouble for 1 minute late, or even walking in the door exactly at 8:30. And I was getting more and more angry as I got there, and I thought, you know what? I can't even pay my bills with this job. This is not worth me risking my life driving 80 miles an hour through snow and ice. If something happens to me, I have no insurance. If I get hurt in a car wreck, I just got this car, but am I going to risk a $13,000 car for a $15 an hour job? No, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm angry that I'm in this position, that I have to risk my life to get there. And then when I get there, I get this reaction. And which, again, kind of is like, this guy just does not care about the life of his employees at all, the safety or anything. The next day, I woke up late. My phone was in the bed with me, so I must have grabbed it and turned the alarm off at some point in my sleep. I woke up at 7:30, had to be there at 8:30. Well, by the time that I got breakfast, which, I mean, I was just cereal, but if I don't eat in the morning, I get sick. So I scarfed down a bowl of cereal, I just like rinsed off in the shower, got there. It was 8:37, okay? So 7 minutes. Now, keep in mind that I'm making up these minutes. It's not like he's paying me for time that I'm not working. I stayed late both days to make up the extra minutes. Nothing was said to me, but I was told to stay at the end of the morning meeting. And he said, "You were late again." He's like, "That's unacceptable." And I'm kind of getting a little defensive, because the thing is, I had a reason. I mean, yeah, I turned my alarm off in my sleep, and I'm not, like, I didn't even tell him that, because I just thought, well, if I give him any kind of reason, he's just gonna say it's an excuse, and you know, what can I say? You know, I turned my alarm off in my sleep. I got here as soon as I could, and the thing is that shit happens. He even said that to me, but it doesn't seem to register in his brain. Like, sometimes things happen that are just beyond your control, and unfortunately, things happen 2 days in a row. Well, so anyway, we were kind of civil, but he was increasingly kind of insinuating that 5 or 7 minutes for him was worth my life. And you guys know I'm uber defensive about my work-life balance and how I'm treated at work, because I've had some bad experiences in the past, so this is not going over well with me at all. So I'm in a bad mood the rest of the day, okay? Oh, no, I should mention that he's like, you know, if this happens again, if you're late one more time, ever, in his employ, I will be fired. And I think that was supposed to shock me or something, and I said to him, I was like, okay, I understand. I was like, I have a lot going on, but if you have to do that, I'll understand why. And then he kind of backed off, and he's like, well, I mean, that's not my plan. I hope that doesn't happen. And I was like, okay. And then I walked out of the meeting. And I think it kind of threw him off a little bit that I was so willing to let it go. But the reason for it is I had started working for Uber and Lyft, and now I'm not so desperate for a job. It's like, oh, well, you know, that's gonna suck if you do fire me, but it's not like I don't have anything, right? I'm not gonna starve to death. I can survive. I can go to doing that full time. So Wednesday of last week, I was just running late. I can't explain how it happened 3 days in a row. It hadn't happened any time before that. It wasn't real late. Like, I actually ended up driving directly to work just to see when I would have gotten there. And it was 8:35. And that counted not only me running late, but also I think there was maybe a little snow or something like that. And so, you know, the roads were slowed down. Anyway, I was absolutely raging in my car the whole time. I'm screaming. I'm punching the ceiling. I am so pissed off that this has happened again. And not only again, but the day after I was just told that I was going to be fired. So I'm about 5 minutes away, and it's like 8:29. I'm literally within sight of the building, but I'm on the highway. And I text him, and I was like, I'm going to be late again. Do you even want me to come in? And he texts me back and says, not today, let's try again tomorrow. So at least I knew I wasn't fired, but I was like, again, the same thing as Monday. I'm like, I'm driving 80 miles an hour on snow and ice. I'm risking my life to get here, risking my car, which this job would not pay to replace, risking my health. I was so upset, and I don't know if this happens to anybody else, or maybe I have heart problems. I don't know. I can't afford to go to a doctor. But every once in a while, when I get really upset, whether it be like emotionally or whether it be like anger, I have these feelings in my heart. Not like metaphorically, like actual feelings in my heart where I don't know what to say it is. It's not a tightness. It's not a... I don't know even how to describe it. It's just a feeling. And if I get upset like that, it usually takes me the rest of the day, and sometimes even the next day for that to go away. And when that happens, I just try to calm myself down as much as possible and just chill. And there was a few years ago, back in college, I had a heart palpitation. because I get in a huge argument with a customer, and that was a scary feeling. I don't want to have that happen again. I don't have insurance. I can't afford to go to the doctor. I can't afford to have anything checked out. I guess I'm just going to die. And, because of that, I'm just, ugh. Anyway, so I thought about it for the rest of the day, and I realized I didn't want to have a long meeting with him in the morning, so I thought I'd just explain my thoughts. Everything that I just told you guys about the pay, about the workload, everything like that, I emailed him. And I said, hey, here's why I was late today. I was very angry because I was really trying to get there on time. Shit just happened. And I even said to him, I feel like you saying that, and I was like, I would have got there at 8:35. I feel like you're saying that my life is not worth 5 minutes of your time. And I wrote to him about my other problems. He emailed me back, and basically he made 2 concessions. Number 1, that I could leave for lunch. He wouldn't pay me for it, but I could leave for lunch. And number 2, he told me not to stay late. However, obviously that would cause other problems, because one of the things he insisted on is that the amount of work that I have can be done in 8 hours. Well, no, it can't be. And the fact that 2 people in this position in a row couldn't do it should really tell you something. So he really showed that he was not going to budge, and he wasn't going to be realistic. So he's like, so are you going to come in tomorrow, or should I consider this your resignation? And I said, well, it seems like we can't agree with what the original terms were of my position, so no, I will not be coming in. I'm going to drop off the key tonight. And guys, here's how petty this got, alright? I was in German Village. I drove all the way over to Grandview. I put the key in the night deposit box. He sends me an email in the morning claiming that I didn't give him the key. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. I just emailed him back, and I was like, check the cameras. I know there's a camera on the parking lot. I was like, I was there about 7:20. Just check the cameras. I don't know what to tell you. And I never got a response. So I got to stop in there on Tuesday, tomorrow, because my Amazon packages were delivered to work. I wasn't planning on quitting. So, we'll see if there's some kind of showdown when I go in there, but I'm done. And I realize that this video is already incredibly long, but there's some stuff that I wanted to tell you guys. After having that taste of freedom and entrepreneurship, just driving for Lyft that one week and seeing how doable it was, that really, I had sort of an epiphany connected to that right before I got this job. And I started to think, maybe I just can't work for somebody else anymore. Maybe I'm just so ready to own my own business, do things my own way, especially because I know when I have employees that I'm going to treat them the way that I would want to be treated. I've done that before when I've been in a management or hiring position, so I know it's not just me thinking that. I've done it before. I know that anybody in my employ will be treated fairly, and I don't want anybody to feel the way that I'm feeling right now. I'm not a get into a position of power and become an asshole kind of person. So right before I started this job, I thought, man, can I even work for anyone else anymore? And now, here's what's happening. Temporarily, I am driving for Uber and Lyft full time. Because honestly, I make more driving for Uber and Lyft per hour than I did there. And that's even after gas, after insurance, and all the stuff is taken off there. Now, I don't want to put that many miles in my car because there's a big difference between driving part-time and driving full-time. Obviously, it puts a lot more miles on a lot faster. So this isn't going to be something I do permanently. I'm just going to go back to the job search, but I'm going to do something differently this time. I am done with this industry. Some of you guys in the comments have recommended that I try another profession because not only is it very difficult to get a job in this profession, but I've had the issues I've had with the hiring process of this in this line of work, and this is an extraordinarily stressful line of work. for anyone, not just for me. So maybe it would help to do something else. All right, because I tend to really enjoy doing Uber and Lyft, so it's not like I hate every job. It just seems to be this line of just one after another jobs that I'm not happy with. So the other thing is too, somebody mentioned me being like kind of blacklisted from the industry. I don't think that's possible, especially because I live in the city with the biggest rental housing market in the country. I don't think that it is feasibly possible that I've been blacklisted. I think that it's probably more to do with some of the other things I've talked about in the past. Is it them finding this channel? Maybe, but I'm kind of doubtful about that just because it's difficult to search directly for my username. Like if you do, like if you just search for my name, my username doesn't come up. That kind of thing is what I mean. So you'd have to specifically know how to find it. And I don't tell anybody that I know that I have the YouTube channel, so it's not that. It's not word of mouth. The only reason my past employer found out about it is somebody found it and and then tracked them down and emailed them a link to it. So I think the plan in the future is this. I didn't plan to quit this job this early. I hoped it would just work out, but it didn't. And then when I knew it wasn't going to work out, I thought I was going to wait till the 90 days, which would have been the end of February. That would have given me a little more time to work Lyft and Uber in the evenings and to do some other stuff and some other stuff and keep making money during the day. So I have two incomes coming in. Well, now that I'm in this situation, I have an idea. If you guys have made it this far through the video, please answer this question in the comments because I really need advice on this and I want to know what you guys think. I think, and I've thought for a long time, that YouTube is my lifeline. YouTube is the one thing that I have going for me that most other people don't. I make about $50 a month off my YouTube. Okay, I don't think we're supposed to say that, but so obviously I cannot live off that. But if I continue putting work into building the channel, if I go back to making time to make weekly videos, the channel will continue to expand and grow, and I will eventually be making more. Now maybe I can't live off of it, but maybe I can pay my rent with it. Maybe it helps out with some bills, and it makes my life a little bit easier, right? And along with Uber and Lyft, it goes along with, okay, if I can't find a job, or if I have to quit a job I hate, I am not completely screwed, right? So I guess my question is this. I am feeling now like maybe I should just take this opportunity to just continue driving Uber and Lyft full time, while in the meantime applying for a few jobs in other fields that I have in mind. Not sure where that'll take me, but either finding another one of those as a day job and then driving Uber and Lyft part-time to make extra money, or in the interim driving Uber and Lyft full-time and using my flexible schedule and extra hours in order to put work into this channel, in order to build this into something that is less like, I guess, a hobby and more into something that is like, I don't know. I want to say more like a business, but it's a business. I hope you guys know what I mean. I guess what I'm thinking is in my head, maybe this is my opportunity where I just say, screw it, and go completely full-time on YouTube. Even though that's not going to be completely possible, I've got Uber and Lyft there to back me up. You see, there's this one factor that I've started to realize, right? All these videos I made about job searching, all the problems I've had with money, they all come down to one thing. Regardless of the reason, it's that somebody is telling me that no, you can't make this money. No, you can't have this job. Well, Uber and Lyft, they don't care. If you want to work 100 hours a week, go make that extra money. As long as you can pass a background check, you can work for them. They don't say no. People saying no to me is what has caused almost all of the financial problems that I have. You know, I get a lot of blame in the comments for, oh, you're so lazy. Why don't you just work 100 hours a week? I can't even get a job for 40 hours a week. How am I going to work 100? You know, so here's what we're running into is with a standard regular job, somebody has to say, yes, here is access to this job and this means of making income. With Uber and Lyft or with YouTube, I don't have to wait on that. You guys know I've waited months and years for a job. And then I finally found one and it sucked, right? So let me get around the gatekeepers to earning an income. To get back to the question, I guess I'm asking you, do you guys feel this is the right time for me to just focus on building my channel into my main source of income, supplemented by Uber and Lyft? And if in the process I can find a day job in another industry, and I've got a few in mind that I'm going to try to start looking into, that I can make that work for me. You see, any other industry that I go into, I'm going to have to start at the bottom. So I probably won't be able to make $15 an hour. That's not even enough, but I probably won't be able to make $15 an hour. So I have to have that lift there as a supplement, and YouTube will help as a supplement. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. My main thing right now is, number 1, happiness. Number 2, finances. And number 3 is figuring out the correct direction in life. The right path to take at this crossroads. All right. It's very refreshing, the feeling that I'm getting right now where I feel, you know what? I've had some really tough times in the past, and I've made it through. It was very uncomfortable. And I can't believe with all the stuff that's happened lately, and as raw as I am emotionally inside, that I'm choosing to possibly take a path where I might have a lot of financial difficulty. But is choosing to take that path the one that is going to bring me out of all of this mess and eventually take me away from it completely? I honestly think it might be. So I would like to hear your comments down below about that, and what you think. Also, if anybody has any ideas of full-time jobs in Columbus, or even part-time, you know what? I could supplement part-time Lyft, part-time employment, and YouTube. That would be great too. You know, maybe I just need to diversify my income streams and stop thinking so literally about the right way to do things and doing things the traditional way. Because obviously going to a 4-year private Ivy League college and getting a great degree gave me a great education and nothing else. It gave me no job and no skills. So maybe I need to stop trying to do things the right way. All right. So anyway, guys, this is a ridiculously long video, and I apologize for that. But I wanted to let you know where I'm at with the job and what my thought process is about all of this stuff. I am going to be dedicated to posting at least weekly, growing this channel. Thank you guys for sticking with me, especially those of you who have been through from the beginning with me. I think that this might be a turning point where I'm really going to make a lot of progress, and I really truly feel like 2018 is going to be that year that I really get started on what's going to be my career for the rest of the year, or for the rest of my life. So I'm really going to make some major changes this year, and I think that not doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again and getting the same result, which is nothing, I think that's going to be the key to fixing my financial situation. Who knows what the problem is? Maybe people don't like me. Maybe people, you know, maybe that I don't come off right in interviews. But the thing is, I've done every possible. I've had Warren Buffett, literally Warren Buffett himself has looked over my resume because he's one of my fraternity brothers. I've worked with my college career center. I've done etiquette dinners for interviews. I've done mock Skype interviews. I do a mentor network with our fraternity. I have done every kind of career prep possible. So whatever the issue is, I don't freaking know what it is that I'm not getting these jobs. But does that mean that I need to continue being impoverished? Does that mean that I need to continue spending all of my free time applying for every job that comes up? I mean, that seems like the right thing to do, but that's never worked out in the past. And then when I do get a job, it's like low-hanging fruit, right? It's ones nobody else wants. So maybe this is the time that I take this more seriously and start building this. But let me know what you think down in the comments. I might be a little defensive about this. I'll try not to be. So don't dash my dreams, please. But if you don't agree with me, you can also let me know what you think I should do. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back to posting weekly. I know I'm getting this up on Monday rather than Sunday, but close enough. I'll try to get back to my Sunday posting schedule. And thank you guys so much for watching. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, make sure to subscribe. You're going to follow me through my journey of paying off debt and becoming financially independent. And you're going to see how this decision that I'm making today turns out. Thank you guys so much. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't. And I will see you next Sunday.